Cambridge, Massachusetts.
I am from Alexandria, Virginia. I was born actually in Washington, D.C. at Howard University Hospital, but my parents lived in Alexandria, Virginia, and that is where I grew up, and that's where I live right now.
I'm originally from England, from Kent, which is known as the Garden of England.
Originally from Concord, North Carolina.
Washington, D.C.
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
I am from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Chicago, Illinois, and
Minnesota.
Oh, I think I pass about 5.
I pass probably about 2 to 3.
Hard to say. I would put it at least half a dozen, although it's hard to say on the metro.
6.
Yeah. St. Pete, St. Joe's.
It's definitely not the closest church to where we live.
Definitely.
Oh, many. I'm not even sure. There are several I could walk to from my house, so several Episcopal churches, but quite a few. This is a destination for me.
12.
I guess. I would say 20.
That's funny. Actually, I passed 1, 2, 3, 4, and the closest one is 9 floors down from where my apartment is.
None.
We were recommended to attend here by our home church in New Mexico. And as soon as we met Father Ball and heard the music, we loved it.
Basically goes back to when I was living in London. I grew up a Presbyterian, and I found the Church of England there. And I just love the liturgy and the music. And so when I came back to the United States, I thought, I'm going to become an Episcopalian and find a church like the one I went to in London.
We belong both with the Great Patrol and with the Flower Guild, and everybody involved does it from their heart instead of to get noticed or whatever. They do it just because they enjoy doing it and they enjoy each other.
Because I've had a long history here. I knew this church when I was a teenager and was growing up in Alexandria. And I came back to this church when I was in seminary, because I was a seminary assistant here 53 years ago. And then after graduate school, because I taught in an Episcopal seminary, I came back here and became one of the assistant priests at this church, and that's why I am here, and that's why I make this place my home.
After the second visit.
It took me a little longer.
First time I attended here, I was, of course, 5 to 10 minutes late. I remember going through those doors, walking up these steps, because I could not figure out that the sanctuary was right here. But I heard the choir, and I remember stopping at the top of those steps and saying, I'm home. And it has been home literally ever since. Whenever I would go back to Wisconsin for summer or winter breaks when I was still at American University, I remember my last Sunday here before break, looking up at the altar going, I am so thankful to have a place that I am going to miss, even if it is for a month or 2.
I originally came here in the 1960s. I was married here, and my son was christened here. And I've come home to St. Paul's.
Really instantly. And then this was something that just matured as time went along. People were very, very welcoming the day that I walked in the door as a teenager. But also when I was a student here at the seminary, this was a second home for me during a rather tumultuous time in the history of both the United States and also of the Episcopal Church as a whole. I was in seminary between 1969 and 1972, and there was a lot of stuff going on at that point. But this place was stable, and it was stable, but at the same time, it was conscious of the fact that it lived in the society in which we all live. So it was busy addressing the issues at that point in its own way that were current both in society and also in the church as a whole.
probably one of the first times we came, and just hearing music and hearing the congregation sing, and everyone was so happy that.
The first service was an immediate sell, and then the coffee hour afterward was just wonderful. Pre-COVID, it was lovely.
The first time I came, my daughter came with me. We came on a recommendation of another priest, and we walked in the door at 11:15, and by 11:30, I knew this was the place.
Well, I've known people at St. Paul's for a few years. I was asked by a former parishioner if I could step in to serve when he transferred out. And the parish was very kind to allow me, not being a member of the parish, to come and serve. And so that's why I'm here.
It is a high church, and being from England, I'm used to the high church, Anglican church, and it reminded me of home.
Well, at the time that I arrived here, and it continued except for the past 19 months, is, I have to tell you, the music, the choristers. I was a chorister at Christ Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So to hear those children singing was just perfect. And the adults as well.
Oh, so many things, so many things. The beauty of holiness, the music, the people especially.
Warm smiles from people, even with masks on when we have to wear them right now. But the fact that people are genuinely caring, that's one thing I think that makes it feel like home. Catholic worship is important to me. It's been part of my life since I was a child. So this is a place which fosters that. It makes it feel as if it is a home for me, being who I am and the things that I both look for and the things that I do. And the fact that this church is, it feels like home because of the fact that it's a church which is finding its own way so far as mission is concerned, and figuring out the things which make it authentic to its way of being able to, its way of being able to live out the life of the gospel.
Father Paul's sermons too, I think, are always in a city that's very political. We both work in the political environment. It's a good message he's providing, I think.
But what you find here is an overwhelming sense of beauty, not only physically, but spiritually. It's just amazing, and I'm very grateful.
The bells, smells, and whistles.
How friendly the people are, how welcoming, how anyone who comes here can become part of the parish family. So I think things like that.
We are a high church, but we are also a very giving and loving church. We have a variety of people in different walks of life, and we are involved with the community as best we can be.
It has opportunities to be engaged in, like the homeless ministry.
This is a peculiar place because of the fact that most of us who come here come from a distance to be here. And I'm always wondering how this church is seen and is perceived by the community that surrounds it. And that the doors are open so that those who live in this community can feel that this is their parish church, just in the same way that it is my parish.
The tradition,
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
tradition.
the ritual and how important that is, why we do it. I think that makes a key difference. And it's something that clearly this congregation cares a lot about. I like that. I wish other people could see and feel that.
Everyone here loves what St. Paul's is doing. No one's feeling like they're required to be here. I remember early on in the pandemic when people would be meeting here, or like the mass would end, we were all ushered outside, and then people would just stop and people would gathered around in circles. Not because they felt like they had to, because they knew that they could leave, but no one wanted to. People want to be in this community.
It has been a wonderful privilege. It helps me to deepen my faith. It's an honor to serve at the altar. And for a few minutes, the whole world stops for me. Whatever problems I have coming in, they're put on hold. And there's such a feeling of serenity and peace and joy. And so I'm grateful to St. Paul for allowing me to acolyte here. Actually, it begins when I ring the bell to begin Mass. And as we're walking in to salute the altar and honor it, it just happens. It just happens.
There's a live, vibrant community ready for a growth spurt.